Yes.
Yay!
Hi,
Hey there,
I'm
Aunjanue.
all right. How you doing?
All
Hi.
right. It's good to see you.
It's good, as we say in Mississippi, it's good to be seen and not viewed.
Yes, 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 yes.
Uh,
So much is happening. I know everybody already knows who you are, the incredible Aunjanue Ellis, an incredible actor. When I saw Origin, y'all, I cried so hard. She's been nominated for an Oscar, but more than what Aunjanue, I think, has done in her career is who she is and just her heart. Aunjanue has been a warrior and a backer, the champion of Julian since she heard about us like 2 years ago. Um, and to the point where I hope you don't mind me revealing this, Aunjanue, but you even paid our rent for a year.
uh,
And we couldn't have an office without you. So just thank you so much, everybody. Aunjanue Ellis. We're going to have a conversation about where things are in America, this election, with civil rights, and just how we're feeling about this overall. So we'll just start out, and Anjanu, I would love to know, how are you feeling right now about everything?
well, I gotta say that it's been hard. It's been hard. It's been very, very hard. And I have felt defeated. I don't think I felt defeatist, but I felt defeated,
Mm-hmm.
because I think you can feel defeatist in the face of victory, but you feel defeated because there's a reason to feel like beaten down and defeated. And I have felt that. And I think, Sunday morning when I got news that President Biden had dropped out, like I stood up and stood up and just started pacing, because
Mm-hmm.
it just gave me a glimmer, just a little glimmer, of the possibility of something else. And this was before, you know, we kind of knew that anything about Kamala. And, I just feel that with Kamala being, the likely candidate, it, it energizes it energizes folks who would not otherwise be energized, and I'm glad about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad about that. So I feel a little bit better than I did, you know when I heard maybe it was like noon on Sunday, let's just say that. So I feel better than I did at 11:59 a.m. on Sunday.
I feel you on that, like
A little
100%.
bit, just a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was like, in watching the lead up to it, the media, all the news stories, like, is he gonna do
hmm
it? And to
yeah,
hear just minutes before his team found out, it would
yeah.
break down. And was I didn't feel like Democrats had a chance of winning with
Nope,
Biden.
nope.
With Harris, I think we do. I've also just been really honest about it, that I
Mhm.
am not Kamala Harris's biggest fan, but she is
Mm,
what's best for this country at
that's
this
right.
moment,
That's
because
right.
the other option is just absolutely ridiculous. We cannot go there. We cannot go back there. And so, with all of this is going on, I would love to know, how is it influencing the entertainment industry, or what are you seeing in the impacts of the entertainment industry on this election?
Well, I'm not that clued into the entertainment industry, and I'm not particularly, I'm interested in so far as, it's been my profession,
Mm-hmm.
and it's how I've been able to pay my rent and take care of my family. But I'm more so interested in how the entertainment industry, the publishing industry, how all of these industries that are, grounded, or the focus of them, whatever medium they are, the larger question of culture itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so So I think about the reality is for me, just getting to brass tacks, is that someone who would vote for this clown, they
Mm-hmm.
clearly want to um to build, rebuild a society, not just a country, but a
Yeah.
society that is white, and that is Christian nationalist. Like that is and I think that's what excites them. That's what excites them is a possibility that they could have they could live in that kind of culture, that kind of, yeah, where it is that they have that kind of unhinged,
Mm-hmm.
unchecked power.
Mm-hmm.
Like that excites them because they don't feel safe anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And this he provides that safety. He gives them a
Yeah.
possibility of that white utopia.
Yes. Yes. It's what I have noticed is like this creep in what is normal and what's not normal, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable has changed since he even ran the first time. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that we are not just completely up in arms about the fact that this man who has all these felony convictions, who's done all of this stuff, is running for president of the United States. And a lot of people support him. Like this shows that we have really slipped very far from where we were a few years ago in terms of what our norms are and what we accept in this country.
Yeah, I reject the use of the word we.
Okay.
As opposed to who is we?
Yes.
That ain't that.
Yes,
That's
I
I don't
hear
have
you.
no part.
They.
Hey, listen,
They.
how did my name get in it? You know what I mean?
I hear
Like
you on that,
that is the we. Who is we? Um, yeah, no, we ain't had nothing to do with that. I think we
Right.
have maintained our standards of, what is outrageous, what is unacceptable, what is moral, what is
Mm-hmm.
right, what is wrong. I don't think we have never wavered in that. My we, and I think you as a part of my we've never wavered in that ever.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
I think and I'm this is not a shameless plug at all, but because this I entered into the world of the film origin through the book, um cast. And this is what Miss Wilkerson so brilliantly talks about, what I was clueless about, which is that census that was conducted in the mid 2010s, which revealed that the demographic of white folks, or um, of white identifying people in this country, will no longer be the largest demographic. Um, and that scared the ish out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what buoyed their voting for him in the first place. And the Republicans were aware of that. That was something that was a fear that they could tap into, and they tapped into it, and they were successful at doing it. And so, what the difference between when Barack was running, right? Barack was a choice. He was something cute to do because they didn't feel like their lives were, or their power was in peril.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
he was a safe bet. We run this anyway, so it could be anybody. So that's why they felt, safe to vote for Barack. Now things are
Gotcha.
different. They don't feel that safety anymore. They feel like their power is threatened. So now it is the possibility of someone, who is not, you know, thinking about their futures and making their futures primary for we're talking about not just right now, but we're talking about putting a stamp on what this country will be for the next century, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he gives them that hope. My sister brightly, said that Donald Trump is their Barack Obama.
Wow, that's a way to put it. That is a way to put it, and that's really stark. That contrast, it really shows just, oh my gosh, like from hope to that, like the different types of hope and hope in different things.
Hope in
And
different things. Yeah.
yes, yes. So we're both from the SIP, Mississippi, born and raised, and what I sense is that a lot of people might not understand what is at stake in this election and what they're trying to do. And have you heard any of the sentiments of, people saying that they aren't going to vote, that they don't believe anything is going to change, or because of political reasons, or they're stepping up for a cause, they're not going to vote?
I don't really F with people like that too high. I mean, I don't. They're not on the
So
speed
100%
dials.
real.
Yeah, they're not on the
Yeah.
speed dials. But I do believe, that there is that is very much that's real. That's real, and that's out there, and it is terrifying that it is. And I thank you for doing the work that you're doing, Jill. And I'm about to do some things myself, because I don't think people really get what is at stake here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. They don't get it. And I hear a lot of folks talk about, we need to be nuanced in how we think about these things, and I'm like, there's no space for nuance here. There's no space for nuance here, because the reality is, if this clown gets elected, you can talk about this with a little more authority than I can, about what he is going to ensure in terms of policing in this country. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Oh my gosh. First, even to start with January 6th and the insurrectionists, I'm pretty sure that they are going to just be pardoned. Um, in terms of what he's going to do with discrimination, so last time when Trump won, Aunjanue, on day one, he told his new civil rights division to withdraw the work that Obama's civil rights division had done, that he disagreed with it. So there were consent decrees that were in court, and Trump said, no, we don't support those anymore. So we're going to take those back. And it's actually outside entities, nonprofits, who had to fight to enact these consent decrees, which were against these police departments. And I
Mm,
find it also really interesting, the Trump the Trump administration, the first time, the consent decree they withdrew was from a police department in actually Miami. So Florida, a state that supports him, so that he withdraws that consent decree. But the one investigation his civil rights division completed was into a police department in Massachusetts. And so, a state that is against him. And so it was really just the way that this is so political, how our safety has become political, that
yeah,
to me, that is just, it is unacceptable on every level. When I think about people down here and how I was talking to a friend earlier today, and we were saying, I started crying because we were saying, this November is in no this election is in November. We are trying to live right now. We have issues today. We have stuff that the police are doing today that nobody is doing anything about. And so everybody, like the country, Washington always seems to be focused on stuff that nobody else in the country is focused on. And that has been the disconnect, because I'm thinking about what happened in court today. I'm thinking about the people's rights who were violated. I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. But Yeah, sorry for for rambling about that.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. What Trump, one of the things that he wants to do is he wants to grant immunity to police officers who are violent in the court in the course of duty. So
Right.
what happened with Sonia Massey, her murderers, right?
Yeah.
Nothing will happen to them. Nothing will happen to them. There's nothing will happen to them. You know what's happening in Mississippi right now with Terrence Gibson and Dwayne Stewart. There will be nothing will happen to them. And there is if the executive branch of government and the Supreme Court, they're working in concert, right? So there's no
Mhm.
really other strata of government that can protect us. Where will
That.
we run? Where can we
Yes.
go?
Mm-hmm.
Where can
That.
we go?
That. And I think people do not I think people don't understand who are in other states, that states that don't have these authoritarian regimes, that we don't have help, that we cannot get help on the local level. We cannot get help on the state level. We tried that. Tate Reeves is not doing shit. On the federal level, that is all we have. That is the only help
That's right.
that we have.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so,
And with his election, that's done. That's
right,
over. That's
right.
gone.
You know, I've heard a lot of people talk about, well, Donald Trump, gave the stimulus check. He gave us what, it was like $1,500. And it's like, are all of your rights worth $1,500? You would
But
sell all of them for
well,
$1,500.
that happened because of the pandemic.
Exactly.
Yes.
But people are wanting this to happen again. It's just like, you have to realize he is not
What the pandemic?
this man.
Another lockdown? Get the fuck on.
Come on.
That's why
Thank
the
you.
stimulus checks happen. He didn't just come out of his ass. Sorry, he just come out of this behind. Like I feel like giving everybody stimulus checks. Like that's not what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Come
definitely,
on.
that is not what happened. And we're like romanticizing the hell out of that. But in everything, I want to just say some of the things that he is trying to do. So one thing that really sticks out to me is we already have all these issues with abortion in America. Our rights have been stripped. He wants to remove any mention of abortion and reproductive health from executive agency materials. They want to restrict IVF. They want to make the abortion ban include IVF. And so this is something where they want to go even further in the other direction, where the country has already spoken out and said, look, y'all have already fucked us over. Don't do it again. And they're primed to do it again. It's like they are not listening to what people have to say and how people feel about this.
Yeah.
But they also, they want to cut Social Security and raise the retirement age. They want to cut and privatize Medicare. They want, the thing that I keep thinking about is they want to get rid of the Department of Education.
Yes.
What does that mean for a state like Mississippi or Alabama or any of these states that already have horrible education systems as it is? They're not going to have any oversight. They're already a mess. And it's basically just taking us down this road where we're going backwards, backwards, backwards. The country is going backwards, but only one group of people is moving forward, and that would be white supremacists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, all of that being said, I would love to know, Aunjanue, tell me just a lot has happened. You talked about how you were feeling and just the sense that you felt when you got the news about Biden. You know, how do you feel now about this election, and how do you feel about Kamala Harris? I mean, how do you feel about the Democratic nominee in all of this and what we could possibly do?
Yeah, I feel what I feel, is that I know that the reality is that the clown is going to stack the Supreme Court with more people who will protect his ass, but also who will essentially set the stage for what the lives of our own lives, for one, but then the lives of our nieces and nephews, our children, you
Right.
know, who our children who have not been born yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is going to um, create a culture and a country and a political machine that only caters to white nationalists and white supremacists, right?
Right.
And so he is going to stack the Supreme Court with more people who think like Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito and Brett Kavanaugh and that white woman he appointed. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
think about it. How many justices he has put on that court?
Right.
And then the ones who have just been waiting, for people to be appointed that aligned with him. Samuel Alito been waiting for a Brett Kavanaugh so he can enforce
Mm.
his own agenda, which is rooted in Christian nationalism. He's a Catholic. And so he doesn't feel like women should have any say so about anything regarding their reproductive health, abortion or not, even birth control. They shouldn't have
Mm.
anything to do with it whatsoever. And this
Wow.
man is going to pack the Supreme Court with
Mm-hmm.
more people who think that way. So
Yes.
what are our lives? What are our lives going to be like? And here's the thing. This is what what I push up against or brush up against a lot is, people who say, well, they all of them are bad. It doesn't matter who I vote for, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
here's the thing. The reality is being the president of the United States of America is being a genocidal warmonger. Period. That's the job.
Hmm.
That is the job. Period. So then we have to look because we ain't supposed to be here. You understand what I mean? We're
Hmm.
not supposed to be here. We are kidnapped people on these shores.
Yes.
None of these laws, this constitution, none of these things that are supposed to be about being a citizen of the United States of America, none of that applied to us. None of it did. None of it did. What
Right.
we did as black folks is we called we call that ish on its bluff. You know what I mean? Well, it
Yeah.
says here that if you're born here, then you have these rights. So we call the bluff of that. But none of it was meant for us.
Mm-hmm.
None of it was meant for us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if we know that, we know this ish ain't for us, but we here, right? The question is, how do we stay safe? How do we
Yeah.
stay safe? Right?
Yes.
And we stay safe by putting somebody in office who is going to be a genocidal warmonger because that is the job. But what will they do in terms of our safety? How can we protect ourselves while we're here? And what we know is Kamala Harris ain't going to do that. She ain't going to stack the
Yeah.
Supreme Court with
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
men. And how about this? How about sexual harassers and rapists who resent women and don't care anything about the health and safety and welfare of women at all? At least she
Mm-hmm.
won't do that.
Yes. That's
That's
real.
what she
That's
won't do.
real.
And that's
That's
what the
real.
decision comes down to for me. And that's why I'm gonna be voting for her in November.
I
Happily.
am most def voting for her. Like that's like the only viable option that we have. And what you were saying about the Supreme Court, as an attorney, for me, at this point, I have no respect for the Supreme Court. They are basically just like a little district court to me because they have lost, they have demeaned themselves with their opinions and with their political views. They have shown that they're not neutral. They have shown that they're not going to interpret the Constitution in the way that it actually is meant to be interpreted or as a living document. They have shown all of these things. They've shown us exactly who they are. And so with the Supreme Court, what I'm thinking about is what can and what should Kamala Harris do about them when she gets in. There are a lot of things that she needs to that she has to tackle when she comes in, and that's one of them, because they also cannot just be
What can she
allowed.
do? How as an attorney, how what can she? Is there something that she can do?
Well, one thing that Biden was considering behind closed doors, from what I understand, is a constitutional amendment for term limits on them,
Wow.
or expanding the amount of justices, as
Mm,
Julio said. Yeah, and so that's something else that they
mm,
could do. But
mm,
what I also am really looking at is the Civil Rights Division, because that
mm.
is the division that's going to be the ones who are mainly stepping up for Black people and brown people and indigenous people in this country. The Civil Rights Division right now is led by Kristen Clark, who is incredible attorney and was a civil rights attorney before she got into this position. And what I worry about is that Kamala and her new administration, hopefully she will not do this, but rock that boat, something that is already working well, going
Mhm,
really well. We need to keep that going. We need to keep
mhm.
it going, or we need to elevate Kristen Clark to a higher position so she can have more influence. But what I am hoping is that the Civil Rights Division keeps at it at the pace that they're doing it, because President Biden has had the most effective Civil Rights Division in the Department of Justice of any president in modern times. Yes.
Really?
He
Wow.
comes in first, Clinton comes in second, President Obama comes in third.
Wow.
And so, but I get it. President Obama had to deal with the economy when he came into office. We were in the Great Recession and all of that, and so that was the priority. But yeah, the truth is that Biden has been the one to really, really stand for us in that regard more than anybody else.
Wow. So, Jill, let me ask you this, because I'm asking you stuff. I don't get to ask you things. Somebody ask you some stuff. So let me ask you just a couple. I want you to. Can you be specific in terms of what he did? Because I think that's important too, that we understand that impact. So if you could be just specific about that a little bit. The other thing I want to ask is, what do you feel like we can do uh, to how do we talk to white women in this situation that we're in? Like, because they are the X factor here. So how do we reach white women? And lastly, you have had the experience in Lexington, and we know that your experience in Lexington is probably not unlike other experiences that other people are having in other towns with these police forces that you know, ex, are violent and abusive, and there's no oversight. They have a Republican governor, and nobody cares. So, what can be done? What can be done to be more helpful with those situations around the country? I know that's a lot of questions.
Well, let's see. First one, what have they done specifically? They have opened more civil rights investigations and completed more in within their time, within the time period they've been there, than any other president. They have
Mm,
also, these investigations, if you look at the findings for these investigations, they're thorough. They're actually coming out with substantive changes that these police need to make, and they're working to enforce that. They're not just saying, hey, here's a piece of paper and y'all go and y'all, figure it out. We're
mhm,
gonna put this down on paper, and maybe they'll follow it, maybe they won't. That they're actually following up and making sure they do their job. What I can say on a personal level is what they're doing is really listening and actually paying attention. Aunjanue, I have not, a lot of times, being a civil and human rights attorney is like you are screaming, you are shouting in an empty forest.
mm,
And what they have done is listen. What they have done is step up to help, to do what they can. Um, Possibly they could do more. but they have stepped up. You know, I had conversations with Kristen Clark and talked to her about what was going on, and the fact that she listened and then responded, the fact that when I was in jail that I could write her a letter and she, you know, actually does something about what's going on. That is like, that is what this should be. That is what democracy should be. That is how our government is supposed to work with us. When I was in I was a lowly intern in the Obama White House, and we used to get these letters from folks, and the way that these letters were just so important because we were making sure that we were responding to all the concerns that people had. I can imagine that under another administration, though, the listening to the people, being responsive to the people is not nearly a priority. I would imagine it would be like Tate Reeves, where we get no response or anything, no help. In terms of white women, you know, I think part of this is like one-on-one conversations. I always think help, like talking to people and meeting them where they are, asking them how they're feeling about the election, asking them what they are thinking, you know, what their thoughts are on the policies, and then honestly challenging them on the parts that don't help us. There's actually one of my friends, Karen Kahn, she runs this company called I Fund Women, and she is hosting, or hosted already, this IG Live, this session with white women to say, hey, let's get it together. Let's make sure we don't mess it up this time. You know, but I also think that telling our stories is another way to go. Not just saying what the issues are, but explaining the pain underneath. Pain is a universal feeling that it transcends race and it creates empathy. And so I think by telling these stories of what people have gone through who might not look like them or who do look like them, because a lot of white women have gone through stuff under Trump too. There are a lot of white women who wanted abortions and can't get them because of the people he used to put on the Supreme Court, you know. And so with all that being said, I really think that having those one-on-one conversations and fostering that empathy would be the way to go in doing it. But we would have to make sure that we approach this in a way that's non-judgmental and really actually being open to the person and listening and having that conversation. So those are a couple of things I think we should do. I forgot your third question. My bad.
So talk about what can be done on a federal. Now, I don't want to use the word federal because it kind of that turns into law, right?
Yeah.
A legal issue. But I want to know what can be done outside of the state of Mississippi, within the state of Mississippi, because it's hard because you Mississippi is what Mississippi is, in that it is a Republican state, it is a white supremacist state, it is a Confederate state, period. And we want to sort of say that the Confederacy died. It never died. It never died. It just looks different. In under these circumstances, how do we get you the support that how do we get you the support that you need? How does that happen?
You know, I can tell you that one of the biggest pieces, there are two big types of support that we need. We need people capacity. We need people to stand with us and to come out, to show up when it's time to show up and not just say they're going to do shit and then not do shit. The other thing we need are resources. Everybody probably saw how many like millions of dollars Kamala Harris raised in just the last few days, and what a difference that's going to make to this campaign. The money that you give to something allows that thing to thrive or not. You know, and that's why it was so problematic when donors, you know, froze $90 million for Joe Biden. You know, immediately they started sending out these grassroots emails saying, hey, can you give $25? Can you give $5? Can you give $10 to people? You know, because it's that important. We cannot get the message out without having resources, without having funding, without having donations. And we work on a shoestring budget as it is, like making change. And we put ourselves at risk. We sacrifice our own health and our whatever it is that we're doing. We put ourselves second or last for this cause. And so having that support in terms of people and having that support in terms of resources, those are the key things. Like, we can come up with the strategies all day, we can talk through it all day, we can make it happen, but things cost money, and that's the thing that you cannot get past in a capitalist country. So those would be the things that I would say. Yeah. And I know we've been going for a while. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. This has been a pleasure and an honor. Truly, thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. Um, we got work to do. We got work to
We
do.
do.
You know, and I applaud you for the work that you are doing, and you got a comrade in me, and I hope you always feel that way.
I definitely feel that way. You got my back and I got yours. I appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Well, y'all take
You
care. I'll talk to you later,
too.
Julian. All
Okay.
right.
Bye, y'all. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.